Welcome to Thursday Night Knives. I'm Bob DeMarco. Coming up, we're going to take a look at a Vanderer knife, the Best Tech Tonic, and then we're going to have special guest Michael Jarvis of Auxiliary Manufacturing joining us. And I also want to talk about, I want to ask you, want to find out, have you ever been screwed buying a knife? Just curious, and whatever that means to you. Maybe it's from a maker, or maybe it's from a purveyor, an online purveyor, or maybe it's a secondary market purchase that goes wrong. Hey, Jim, I can hear you clicking. That's the kind of thing I want to. Thank you, sir. That's the kind of thing I want to talk about. What kind of raw deals have you had, or have you been through buying a knife? All that's going to come up, and then we're going to talk about lots of stuff. Here's Dave, this old sword blade reviews. Wow, man, just made a Freudian slip with my blade, and now I'm on Thursday Night Knives. Evening, junkies. Evening, sir. It's good to see you. You know what? I was just doing some T-Kel knives research and was watching your Nighthawk, I think it was called, video just while I was waiting for my daughter in gymnastics before. So love your videos, Dave, as always. Will be good to see you, sir. I've gotten really literally screwed, although I've definitely felt like it. Oh, I haven't gotten literally screwed, although I've definitely felt like it once or twice when purchasing a knife. Hey, Bob, Jim, and fellow junkies. Will, it's good to have you here. Sorry, I butchered your comment. Flip Solo, good to see you, Flip Solo. I've totally met Michael Jarvis at Blade Show, Texas. I bought the only Stingray wrapped, ooh, nice, Akuchi in Magna Cut from him just a month ago. Nice dude. Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing him. He's got some really beautiful fixed blade knives and some awesome kitchen knives too. They look pretty sweet. Blade Ogre, good to see you here, Blade Ogre. He says, hello, all. Well, it's good to have you here, man. Dion Page, hello, King Emperor Alpha Junkie. I like it. I like it. Couple more adjectives might do in my title. Jim and all the rest of you junkies, and great evening. Good to have you here, Dion. As always, just like Byron. Good to see you, Byron. Howdy, Bob, Jim, junkies. Old Togata will be Ogre, and all here tonight. Thursday Night Knives. Yes, it is Thursday. That is the official start of the weekend, as I'm now fond of saying. Joseph S., good to have you here, Joseph. Hello, good evening, he says. Well, good evening to you, sir. Hope you're all stropping your knives or otherwise occupied in such a way that, that you're taking care of your hobby right now. Maybe it's that time of the week, it's 10 o'clock, it's maybe the rest of the house is settling down and you have a chance to catch up with disassembling knives. Keith the Knife Freak, good to see you here, Keith. Hello, Bob. Hello, all you crazy knife nuts, he says. Always good to have Keith around. Keith, thanks for coming, man. Boba Fettuccine, hey buddy. Hey man, how are you? Boba Fettuccine, great name. Paisan like me, can't get past that. Apex Alchemy, good to have you here. Yes, I've been screwed buying a knife. PayPal friends and family will and can get you in some stuff as there is absolutely no buyer's protection. I'm definitely on guard until I get to know someone. Yeah. I've been rather trusting in the past when going after a knife I've found and been excited about. But I was really screwed by a maker a bunch of years ago now. So the sting is a little less. And I know so much more now. My antenna should have, my spidey senses should have been a ringing. Beefer Baron, good to see you here, Beefer. He says, hey guys. Well, hey, right back at you and your cute dog. Vander USA, hey, he says, hello. It's good to have you here, man. We have Ethan Curtis with us. Flip Solo. Hey, Broadhead Push Dagger is something to check out, in my opinion. His Broadhead Push Dagger is something to check out. Yes, I love, we were talking about his Push Dagger when he was on the show, and Michael Jarvis, that is, and that is the knife of his that really caught my attention. I love push dagger style knives. So very excited about that. I haven't ordered one, so I'm not that excited, but I need to be. Dion says, check out the knife that Midgard's Messer is making for George Sprave of the Slingshot channel. Okay, I don't know that one. George or Jorge, I'm not sure. Put a vid out today about OT and L. Gotta say, it's one of the most inventive and innovative knives I've seen. Okay, I don't know this one. Midgard's Messer, though, I do know that they make gigundous, just huge folders, big, giant, imposing folders. That much I do know. So I wonder what this is like. I think I've seen recently that they made something a little more pedestrian, but I'm not sure. Ground Fog, good to see you here, Ground Fog. He is applauding, and I applaud you, sir. A good choice of shows on Thursday night. Hero Sticks, good to see you here, Hero. Hey, Bob and all. Evening and cheers, Bob. I've been jammed up. Still hope to get another box your way soon. Hey, whenever that can happen, I always appreciate it. Like Dave, man, he sent me a huge box right behind me, and I will randomly pull things out as we go. Bob, do you still have the MK Ultra Kukri folder? Indeed, I do, Will, and that is one that I carry with some frequency. I carry that one. It's because it's thin, it's light, it's large, but it doesn't seem as large as it is. It's like a 4 1/4 inch blade, but something about how beautifully it's designed and that curve and everything, it seems smaller. Blade Ogre says, the only time I got something of a bad deal was when I thought I bought a Hinderer XM18 Bowie in titanium prototype for just, I remember this, 150 right out of the pocket of the seller at a local carnival. Okay, I remember this, Chris. Yeah, that sucked, but that was a pretty good looking clone, and it's a story. A lot of our knives were attached to, I say we, I'm trying to like include everyone in my weirdness, but I know you all have your own separate weirdness, but we have stories around our knives and certain ones that we never want to get rid of. And that would be a good one. Good story right there. Cobalt, good to have you here. Hello, everyone, he says. After doing some research on Blade Forums, YouTube, etc., years ago, I have learned to be cautious. I have not been screwed so far, fortunately. I applaud you. That's awesome. I got screwed royally when I found this guy who I think ended up just being a disaster. But he basically bilked me for $600 to get him to build me a tactical crisp, because he built this really cool tactical barong. I mean, he claimed that he built it. Whoever built it, I thought it was him. And I sent him this design, and it was pretty sweet. And yeah, let's do it. And I paid him money, and he just disappeared. I was not smart at the time. I did no research or anything like that. Live and learn. Boba Fettuccini says, many moons ago, I purchased a dagger by Mossberg, like the shotgun maker, I guess. Let's just say I learned my lesson, and we'll never leave it right there. Oh, and we'll leave it right there. Yeah. I think, you buy a knife from a gun company, you're going to get a gun company knife. And that is Heckler and H&K. I don't know if it's Coke or Koch, so I'll say H&K. They've always had good OEMs for their knives, as have several others, but oftentimes they're just kind of cheesy. So knife makers, make knives. All right. All that said, actually, Hero said, I got screwed buying my Jaeger M off eBay. My screws were cracked. Action was jacked. Thankfully, Brian Brown was uber gracious and totally dialed it in for me. That's nice. He was stoked and grateful. All that said, I want to get right now to a pocket check. Okay, today It wasn't this. Today in my front right pocket, I had something I haven't carried in quite a while, and used to carry all the time. This is my XM24 Hinderer with the Warncliffe blade. Now, this is the generation before they went to the tri-way pivot, and I don't know what generation that is. Maybe 3. I'm not sure. But I, with my left hand, which is not as coordinated, need to give it a little wrist. Otherwise, it's got really, really good action for a non-bearings hinderer. Anyway, it is a large and sharp and pointy M390 blade. Not sure how it's heat treated. Haven't done too much hard use with this knife, even though that's what it's built for. To me, it's like an ultimate sax sort of in pocket warrior knife. I love this thing. It has a great, listen to the sound of this thing closing. Do you hear that ting? There's a ting. Oh, it gets me every time. Just a great, probably my favorite all-time hinderer, example of a hinderer that I've owned. Had that in my pocket today. I had the Jack Wolf Knives Big Bro Jack. This is the micarta version, and this is the last model that they're doing a micarta version 2 of. And I love it. I'm very psyched that Ben sent me the micarta, because I just, it's my favorite material, I guess my favorite handle material. And though I like all of the sumptuous carbon fibers he's been putting on all of his models, and those are what's selling, I am glad I got my hands on the last micarta. Always really high quality micarta. I don't know, I had leftover food on it, which is kind of gross. I just cleaned it off right before here, but I think that was from our road trip, because I know I didn't use it today. I just had it to have it. Also on me today, my new Fenrir knives. My new Vanderer knives, Fenrir. Sorry about that. I've been using it with a det cord, and then having that in my waistline, and then tugging it out. It's pretty cool. So this is from Ethan Curtis and Vanderer Knives, and this Fenrir model, it is a fighter. It's a sort of gun retention, last ditch self-defense knife, sort of based off of the Norse knives of yore. But look at that. He's got his logo stamped in there. It's kind of hard to see this camera, but also a nice black and red swirly G10, and has really excellent ergonomics. It fits my hand perfectly, and it's a great little sharp, stabby, the kind of knife I like. And it's got a really good sheath. That's a huge part of the recipe anyway. And yeah, I wrap this around my belt at about 9 o'clock, and then have this in the waistband, just kind of hanging out like a samurai, with this pointing up, and then I can just grab it and deploy it like this. So today's fixed blade was the Fenrir by Vanderer Knives. Just did an interview with Ethan Curtis. You can check out, and yeah, that was shortly after that interview. I got that. All right. Lastly, for emotional support, my emotional support knife today for fidget and elsewise was the Microtech Troodon. This is the original with the 3-inch blade. I thought I was buying the Combat Troodon and getting like an amazing deal when I got this on the secondary market several years ago. And when it showed up, I was like, where is it? It's so small. But I've really grown to love this little knife. It's a really wicked little double-edged thing here. So these are the knives I had in my pocket. I had the Microtech Troodon. I had the Fenrir by Vanderer Knives. I had the Jack Wolf Knives Big Bro Jack. And I had this here Hinderer XM24. What were you guys carrying? Let me know. And I think we might have Michael Jarvis with us right here, right now, from Auxiliary Manufacturing. If so,
what's up, everybody?
Hey, Michael, good to see you, sir.
Pleasure to be here.
So, what's new with Auxiliary Manufacturing?
As you mentioned, I think in a post or something I saw about it, the Carl Jr. That's my big new thing. I'm really working on a ton of them right now. Great small carry size comparatively to the standard Carl. I got one right here. We'll do some comparisons in a minute. But I made a pretty big batch of these, and they were gone very quickly. I was obviously happy. The feedback was outstanding. So my main focus is not only, get the rest of my stuff ready for Blade Show, but really get more of these out there, because I think this is really going to be well accepted in the everyday carry community. I got one on the way to Offensive Industries right now to get the in-pocket sheath going, and that's always a nice option as well.
Give us the specs of that there knife.
So the Carl Jr. is 7 inches overall, 3-inch total blade length. You really end up with about 2.75 inches of cutting edge, 1/8 inch AEBL, heat treated to 61.5 Rockwell. Handles start as 1/4 inch G10. I do, my kind of texturing that I like to do. Give it a full bead blast, blacken the entire thing, so you get that nice finish matching on the spine, blade everywhere else. Sharpen her up, and we're good to go. These are nice little cutters too.
Man, that's a beauty. How do you carry yours, or how do you recommend it?
So I include my standard sheath. I like a pancake style sheath just for more adaptability overall. I do include a metal belt clip with all of them, like this guy here. It's kind of a DCC knockoff. It doesn't grab cloth that well, but it's a nice clip overall, in waistband, on waistband. Another option, like I just mentioned, and this is my carry here, is from Offensive Industries. Now, this allows me to carry this full-size Carl in my front pocket. It's a really nice option, in my opinion.
So you carry it tip down, edge forward, obviously tip down, but with the edge forward?
Yes, just kind of the way you were speaking about drawing your Fenrir is the same way I would intend to draw this, but it's in my front right pocket.
Right.
So sitting right about 230 or so.
So that's a Carl, just a Carl. What is that called? Full size?
Yeah, this is just the Carl, the standard Carl full size. I do offer a thick version of this as well, when available, of course, and we'll compare that to the Junior here, and you can really see it took about 1.5 inches off overall. Makes it a really nice carry size. Also slimmed out the handle quite a bit, knocked down this heel hook a little bit, made it a lot more approachable, much more everyday carry. The Carl's been really popular with military, law enforcement, stuff like that, guys who don't intend to necessarily conceal or worry about comfort as it's on a vest or somewhere else. This just makes it really approachable for that everyday guy to carry something practical and tactical.
You've been posting a lot recently of the daggers that you make, and do you have any of those around?
I have one with me. So this is my Pocket Rocket Super Slim. Just a little guy.
Sweet.
And so this guy is very thin. The standard Pocket Rocket's much thicker. It has really similar shaping to my actual Pocket Rocket line, or my standard Pocket Rocket line. And this guy's paper micarta AEBL, and it does have pins. You can't see them at all, but the micarta pins blend with micarta very well. Go figure. But this is, really kind of what this line, at least the daggers, put a big shift into kind of what I was doing when I kind of started down that road. And it's been nothing but good. I love daggers, always have, probably always will.
My daughter, my older daughter, has just developed a thing for daggers, because she'll go through my knife collection and she's like, no. And that she gets the dagger. She's like, yes. So I think there is something in the symmetry. I pulled out a bunch of daggers tonight. Something about the symmetry that gets me. Have a knife day. Good to have you here. Have a knife day. Good evening, Knife Junkie. He says, I'm currently going through a thunderstorm in Hope, Arkansas. Just up the road in Washington, Arkansas, is the second annual James Black Bowie Heritage Festival. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Enjoy that festival. One of these years, I'm going to the Bowie Festival.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has to.
Yeah, it's a rite of passage. Dion Page says, I got screwed buying a knife off of Wish and It. And it was my own dang fault. I should have known better. Yeah, that is the case. We're talking about getting screwed buying knives. You know, that can be a problem. You know what I think is cool about buying from custom makers such as yourself is developing relationships with makers. Not necessarily that you're constantly checking in, how's my knife, but when you know that there's a single human behind, or a couple of, a small shop of people behind making the knife you love, it makes it even better.
Absolutely. And granted, there's those people who just love to kind of message every day and just want nonstop updates. And I'm happy to do it. I just like to warn them, the 15 minutes every day I'm spending sending you pictures and stuff like that is just 15 more minutes. It's compounded. It's going to take me to finish your knife.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Would you rather chat online with me, or would you rather get your knife quicker? Mike Flamian, good to have you here. Sweet XM24. I couldn't agree more. I do love it. Apex Alchemy says Chavez 229 and Grayman Satu TI. Oh, okay, nice. I like that. I like the Grayman knives. Haven't seen those in a while. Look at this. Look at this carry here, Michael. This is Will B. He carries a lot of knives. Grimsmo Norseman, Protec Mordax. That's the California Custom Knife Show edition. Microtech Stitch Ramlock. Oh, I want to get one of those. I must say. The Reich Knight, the Kaiser Begleiter XL Cold Steel Tiger Claw, Savivi Chevalier, Spyderco Ronin 2, Riot EXO, and 2 flashlights and a pen. Wow. What Will always leading with the Grimsmo Norseman. That's a pretty good one. Michael, what were you carrying today? You had the Carl.
Well, I always have my Carl. And then I was at the shop this morning. So my shop knife is a Paramilitary 3 that a friend of mine gifted me a long, long time ago. And it has just been my go-to. It's hard to beat something that I don't have to really care about.
Yeah.
It's a dependable knife. It holds up. And if something happens to it, oh, well, I can get another one for $100 or so.
Yep. And once you're dealing with, yes, sir, says Vandrer. Once you're dealing with knives that have souls, speaking of Vandrer, or speaking of you, knives that have, that have been touched by human hands, that are made by makers and that kind of thing. Not that some of these machine-made knives in factories that have a lot of design behind them, not that they're not valuable too, but there's something about someone making the knife and then you buying it and carrying around a bit of them with you. Apex Alchemy says, gotta get one of the traditional models. My brother is waiting on one of the models to restock too. I'm not sure which one you're talking about. This is what happens. It's past 10 for me on a Thursday night. I can't remember, 1 minute to the next. This old sword says, got a Max Ace Peregrine coming up in ZDP 189. Rockwell 66 Sanmai. Anyone heard of this steel? ZDP 189, I know that Spyderco has a line using ZDP 189, and it has, you can see the hamon, or maybe that's not the hamon, but you can see the separation between the steels, and they have the deep gray, or not the gray, the deep green forest colored handle. ZDP 189. I think it can rust too.
Are they running it at that same hardness? That's 66. That's high.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know that Spyderco is highly respected for their heat treat, but it seems like it seems like 66, like you said, is like, I've never really heard of anything that high.
I mean, I know there's Rockstead out of Japan. I think they run
Oh yeah,
really high
yeah.
Rockwells around 66. So, maybe it's a steel that they've also used. I really don't know much about them aside from their astronomically high hardnesses.
Yeah, and beautiful builds, man. Those knives are, whew,
Yeah,
they're
the polishes are
incredible.
crazy. It looks like liquid metal.
Yeah, like Terminator 2. Ryan's got stuff.
Exactly.
Good to see you here, Ryan. I carry the Raja 2. I say, if you could have it, I will too. Yes, I love the Raja 2. That's that giant cold steel kukri folder. Something
So
everyone
big.
should have. Yes, yes. Yeah, it's cartoonish, and that's part of the appeal. Jason Velasquez, good to have you here, Jason. KC exclusive, okay, Knife Center exclusive Chris Reeve knives, G Carta and Magna Cut. Am I reading that right? Chris Reeve knives, G Carta and Magna Cut. Blackout PM2 S45 VN, Urban EDC TAC, and OS 8 beater. All sound awesome. G Carta, you've used G Carta a lot recently, haven't you, Michael?
Tons of times, yeah. I actually just finished a batch for Wander EDC using their exclusive G Carta. V just got them in the mail today, so if you guys are interested in G Carta, she's going to be listing some of my stuff wearing their exclusive stuff. It's really cool. I wish I had a piece with me to show, but like I said, shipped it off. It is tough stuff. I mean, that is no joke material.
Some of it, I thought I was under the impression that some of that G Carta is, well, it feels so soft to the touch. So I imagined
Oh,
that it was easily broken or something like that. But it's compressed under such high heat and pressure, and with so much epoxy. I bet it is super strong.
uh,
How is it to work with?
a pain, and
Oh,
and Greg, the guy who makes it, he's works really hard to make it a very strong and durable material, but he knows how hard it is to work with. That stuff is a bear. I mean, no matter what part you're doing, aside from cutting it, everything else is a chore to say the least.
oh man. Yeah, but then it's hard one. Not only that, but there must be something awful about over over sculpting, so to speak, on something like that. You're using precious, it's not precious, but you're using an expensive material like that. Um, Maybe the harder it is to work, the less likely you are to overdo it.
Absolutely. I mean, just because it takes so much more work, effort, and time. Because with micartas, you can also burn that if you let it get too hot while you're grinding on it. So you have to take your time in general. But now we're talking about a really dense and difficult to work with material. So you really, there's no kind of overdoing it. And I'm sure you could, if you're really ripping through there. Um, but I would say you're much more likely to overshoot with something like G10 that's soft and really easily machinable.
Right.
Especially, I've made the mistake of coming off of using a G Carta or my Carta right into G10. Had my headphones in, not really thinking about it. Just droop. Oh, come on.
It's like when you come off the highway after a few hours of driving 85 and then you're in the suburban streets tearing around
Exactly.
like, oh wait, gotta slow it down. Oh man. So oh wait, Blade Ogre also is a gentleman who carries a lot of knives. Carried the
Oh,
Sleazy
wow.
Ogre, which is a custom knife that he had made. Blade Ogre, I want you to comment about the history of the Sleazy Ogre, if you will. The GEC 87 English Jack. Oh, that's nice. The Todd Begg Steelcraft Bodega, Sniper Bladeworks LPC. Those are interesting with the pistol grip style. Smith & Son Mudbug Colonial Forest Master. The, what is that? American Service Knife, the Finch 1929, and the custom Swiss Army knife. Geez, man.
Wow.
That's 10. I think that's 10. I lost count after 9. No. Blade Ogre always has a really cool lineup. Byron Kennedy says, my ESK is a humble, my emotional support knife is a humble Rough Rider hawk bill tonight. Humble is good. Humble is good. You know, we all like, it's kind of like the Para 3 that Michael was just talking about, that it's his shop knife. It's a humble knife and it's great. Robert Von Darth, good to have you here, Robert. I'm looking for a maker for a custom knife idea. So let me ask you this, Michael. What's it like being a maker in terms of, I mean, when someone says to you, I have an idea for a knife, is that something you do? Or do you only work on your own designs?
Well, I'm a little bit pickier now. If you would have asked me a few years ago, I would have told you I'll build your dream knife any day of the week, as long as I'm capable of it, of course. I'm a little bit busier now. And I have plans that extend a lot further than most people want to wait. You know, I'm willing to do something special for you, but I'm going to let you know that, you know, it might take me 8 months to do it because I have a lot of other things now lined up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I talked about, you know, I'm heat treating 60 Carl Juniors next week, and that's going to take me quite a while to get through that. And I have other models after that. And, you know, I'm doing larger batches now just because doing it all at once saves me a lot of effort.
Jason Velasquez says,
yeah.
Rockstead runs a high HRC on ZDP. Yeah, okay. Man.
Yeah. So I kind of thought, you know, I don't know anybody else really running harnesses that high, so I kind of assumed it might be something similar.
Yeah, yeah. Bear Arms says, hi, everyone. Hey, Bear Arms, good to have you here. Made it finally. Any thoughts on the Vosteed Gator? I know that Dave has one. I have not gotten one yet, but I would like to get it because it is large, and I like large folders, especially larger than 4 inches. Especially, I mean, that's always a great benefit. Hey, James, good to have you with us. James Moore. Hello, everyone, he says. James, tell us what you had on you. Something exquisite, no doubt. Sorry about that, Jim. Faked him out there. So we're giving away a couple of knives tonight. I have a Patreon 3 levels of support, and one of those levels we give away knives every month. And so we're going to be giving away knives in a little while for the Gentleman Junkie. I just want to show this off. This is the Off Grid Knives Viper V2, donated by Off Grid Knives. Thank you very much, Carrie. And then Dave, this old sword, is always sending cool boxes for me to give away. And this is a version 1 of the same knife. So if you win tonight, you win both knives. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Lady and gentlemen. Lady, if that, and gentlemen. So here it is. 2 different Tontos. I love American Tontos. What do you think of Americanized Tontos?
I mean, I prefer a traditional Tonto personally, but I realize why everybody likes them. They're just a pain in the ass to sharpen comparatively.
Yeah, that's right. It's like 2 knives or sharpening a dagger or something.
Yeah, you know, when you see the really traditional Tontos, usually that edge kind of flows more fluidly through it.
Right.
The ones I've seen, you know, I'm sure that somebody can find some example in like 5 seconds and prove me wrong, but.
So what do you, let's see, I'll hold that for a second. Flip Solo says, I'm holding my Auxiliary Manufacturing Blade Show Texas 2023 exclusive Magna Cut Stingray wrapped Ikuchi. Thanks again, Michael. Love the shiv. That cord hasn't gone anywhere, bud.
So I'm going to go ahead and definitely say he's talking about a Sume, which we talked about last time, because that is definitely what I had there and sold a fair amount of them. They were a big hit.
Sume, which one was that? Now I can't remember.
Let me grab one. I got one right here.
Cool. That's awesome, Flip Solo, that you were there at Blade Show Texas and got yourself a knife from Michael. Robert Von Darth says, speaking of long time, I have a sword on order. It will take about 9 months. Yeah. You gotta, that's the waiting is the hardest part, you know, as Tom Petty said.
So this is the Sume here, yes. Japanese for claw.
Yes.
And this
That
is
is
in
a
330
sweet.
seconds AEBL, so it's really nice thin blade.
That is nasty.
And
Beautiful little thing.
oh yeah, and the Stingray ones are my absolute favorite. Always the most popular at the shows. I'm planning on bringing about 20 to Atlanta, so you can definitely handle one there.
Cool. So you're saying the Stingray is the first level?
Yes, yes. So
It's
I'll
what's
bring this
next to
knife
the
up
handle.
one more time. So you'll see on this knife here, it's got kind of what I call an under wrap.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a layer of cordage underneath and then the cordage on top. And with the Stingray, I eliminate that under wrap and it's just the Stingray. It comes in slightly thinner overall and it gives it a really nice, sleek look with the black on black, especially.
And it has that beautiful sort of traditional feel.
Yeah, traditional feel, it's let's call it pseudo traditional. Some people don't love the
Yeah.
fact that I use paracord instead of Ito and stuff like that. But I'm just gonna do what works for me because there are plenty of guys doing super traditional wraps that if that's really what you want, I'm sure you can go and get it from them.
Yeah, yeah. So those people can go suck an egg, basically. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I'm happy to tell them that too.
Vander USA says, Michael, I'm still holding out for some stainless quick picks.
Send them over, man. We'll make the thing happen. We talked about this already. Ethan and I've met at Blade Show last year, so I assume he's going to be at Blade Show again this year. So I assume hopefully I'll see both you guys there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I will be there. I cannot wait. This old sword says, check out Laren's Knife Nerds article on ZDP 189. It is one of the few steels that can take such extremely high hardness. 3% carbon, 20% chromium. Yes, Japanese made, usually by Rockstead. Excellent. Thank you, Dave. Always bringing the knowledge, dropping the knowledge bombs. Appreciate it, sir. Yeah, come to think of it now that a whole bunch of people have mentioned it, I do remember seeing it on Rockstead knives. Could just be a suggestion. Let me show you something cool.
Please.
Since I got you. This was the knife that I show this off a lot. But this was a knife that my parents had commissioned when I turned 50 from one of my favorite knife makers. And that's Hogtooth Knives out of Massachusetts. And yeah, I just love this old Loveless pattern style fighter with the sharp top and the sharp bottom. And it's just all business, but all decorative too. It looks like something like a riverboat gambler may have had or something.
Is that how you envision yourself as a riverboat gambler type man?
Yeah, I want to be the kind of guy who can get away with wearing a cummerbund and an ascot, and no one will be like,
and a straw hat. I hope.
Yeah. I'm just a simple country doctor. Yeah, but really, I have that like in my cummerbund. Yeah, that's what I see. That's what I see happening. All right, so Jim, I think I want to give away this knife here, and spin the wheel. But first, I want to thank patrons, one and all. Not not any particular level of support, but all levels of support. The fact that you are willing to trade your hard-earned lucre for this content is very humbling. So we appreciate it greatly. And to you gentlemen junkies who put out the most per month, I want to show a token of our appreciation by offering you these two knives where we usually give away one. So this is kind of a cool one because you get to see the history and evolution of a design. And that is something that Off Grid does a lot. They're constantly improving their designs. And in this case, I'd say they knocked it out of the park. Carrie sent me 3 of this new Viper model. I have adopted one into my collection. I'm giving 2 away. And the one that I have been carrying, this one right here, has gotten a lot of use, and it's awesome. So, not for nothing, I picked the one that had the most difficult lock to undo. They're all butter smooth. I'll have you know. All right, so let's do this, and I think I will read off the names of our gentleman junkies real quick, and then we will give these knives away. Okay, we have Ben Belkin, Byron Kennedy, Caleb Townsend, Cam Michael, Colin Maison-Pierre, Edwin Callow, Ezekiel Yates, Francis Valere, Grim Reaper, Izzy, J. McDonald, Jared Strasbaugh, Jesse Tellis, Jock JVF, K. Mason, Kevin Moore, Martin Gamboa, Mr. VC256, Never Enough Knives 007, Scott Nelson, Sean Curry, Timothy Becker, Tong Kim, Will Boyer, Yuval Peleg, and Zach Williams. Thank you, one and all. So appreciated for your support. Let's see which one of you lucky people gets these 2 knives for the price of one. Or let's just see who gets these 2 knives. We'll put it that way. All right. All right, Jim. Let's bring up the wheel and we'll count down. All right. In 3, 2, and 1. All right. It always pulls a red herring at the end. There we go. It's Cam Michael. Cam Michael. All right. Nice. I better write that down on the laptop because, once you get to a certain age, Cam Michael. All right. I will have that out to you probably Saturday if we're being realistic. Or actually probably Monday if we're really being realistic, because you never know what's going to come up on Saturday. These are yours. Thank you, Cam Michael, for your support, sir. Greatly appreciated. So you were just
Monday. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
I was telling Monday. I can't guarantee anything on the weekend. Let's be realistic here. The weekends are mostly mine, and the last thing I want to do is go to the post office.
So, yeah, exactly. And stand behind some guy in his pajamas. That was my last Saturday afternoon post office run experience. And this whole PJs thing, I can't stand it. I see a grown man or a woman, but just in their pajamas in public. Sorry, curmudgeon. We don't have to talk about that at all. What's that?
It's the Walmart culture.
The wall. Yeah, exactly. 5 Door says, my electricity came back on just in time to join the live. Greetings, Bob. Well, great to have you here, sir. Nomadic Adventures is expressing a whole bunch of emotions. I hope everything's all right at Nomadic Adventures. So in terms of shipping your stuff, like what's that part of it like? Fulfillment. We know that a knife making itself has to be a really fun, challenging part of it, like the actual making. But what about getting them all in the right hands?
I mean, let's call it's admin work. It's I lump shipping in with website work and just everything else that's not being in the shop. And it takes so much more time than anybody realizes. If I'm not doing it on the weekends or in the evenings, I'm essentially taking Monday off to catch up on emails and ship stuff and do this and do that. And I don't have internet at my shop, so I'm not taking my laptop there or doing anything like that. So it's a lot, and I luckily, pack and ship everything from my house, which makes it a lot easier. There's no standing in line, of course. My post office has a nice drop box, so just print my labels, slap them on, and good to go.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, that's cool. You don't have the temptation of internet in your shop.
Intentionally.
Okay. Yeah. Take it back. I was just explaining. Well, I'll tell you in a second. James Moore says, Bob, today at work, I had my Sharp by Design Micro Evo with drop point and marbled carbon fiber inlays. And now at home, I've got my Sinkovich flip slip folder with Damasteel blade and carbo tie scales. Ugh, lovely as usual. James has an amazing collection and very specific 325-pound women in pajamas. Yes. James Moore has a very specific set of materials that he likes and those that he does not. Bear Arms says, or spandex. Yeah, definitely.
Just as bad.
There is a lack of humility out there, I'll say. Walmart culture is an oxymoron.
So some of these are really getting me. These are hilarious.
True. Shipping is the worst, says Vander. So why? Well, you got to make sure you're getting the right thing to the right people. I mean, I know when I'm just selling off parts of my collection, as if I sell one knife and it's like a big deal. But when I have like a bunch of shipping to do, I always have it all written where I know I'm going to stick the label. This is the Recon one. It's going to John, and then but yeah, staying organized has to be the difficult part.
Yeah, well, luckily for me, like if somebody places an order through my website, all that's pretty much automated, so I can just print my print my packing list and my pick list, so I know all the knives I got to ship and all the different packing slips, so I know who's getting what. And then I got all my knives in boxes now, and they're all labeled, cool, so that's boxes. Easy for me. I got a broadhead here, so I can show that off a little bit too. But any way that I can make inventorying my own stuff, and you'll see I don't know which way how cameras work, but I got a couple more boxes, kind of transitioning to get everything in boxes as I can, and which posed its own shipping nightmares, of course, because I have all these different size custom boxes, but now I got to get boxes for these boxes to fit in.
Oh yeah, right. Shipping boxes.
And then do I get really big shipping boxes? So if somebody orders 2 knives, 3 knives, 4 knives, I can fit them all in one. Do I buy every size of box you could possibly imagine? Do I, there's a million unanswered questions about shipping, and every one gives me a bigger headache than the previous.
I really like the design on the box. It looks like something from a different era. It's very, very nice. I like that.
This is my very first logo. I have been using this as my logo and my Instagram picture for 8 years now. I started doing things with a file and a hammer. These are the Chicago Stars here, kind of where I started, but now made in Reno.
Nice.
And got my little tagline here too. Not your grandpa's knife, because my stuff is very non-traditional, of course.
Okay, so this is the broadhead.
This is the broadhead. Yeah, this is my push dagger.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes. And so it is small.
That is cool.
So it's chisel ground, really nice strong tip. Very small overall, extremely easily concealable, fits really nice in everybody's hand I've come across. Whether you're a small framed lady with a little tiny hand, or, big bear paws, I make these divots nice and big, so even, huge sausage fingers are fitting in here.
Nice.
No offense if you got huge sausage fingers.
That's wicked. I certainly do not.
Some nice piece of recon stone on there too. I love doing the recon stone on these broadheads. Just a nice little pop on them.
What is recon stone? I've never heard of that.
So recon stone is actually ground and reconstituted stone. So in its current state, it's 85% stone and 15% resin. Makes it much easier for me to drill, grind, polish, all that fun stuff. Stone in its true form is extremely brittle. Trying to drill that out, you're going to be chipping everywhere. It's a nightmare. This is very easy to work with comparatively.
So it's almost like countertop.
It's exactly like Corian countertop. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's what Corian is.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. That's a beautiful push dagger. And now, okay. All right. I got to move on getting a push dagger, and you pulling that one out and parading it around was, really put my feet to the fire. I do have to get a push dagger here. For those who did not watch or listen to the podcast, tell people how you got involved in making knives and how you got full time.
Well, I was a chef for long time. Culinary school graduate. I cooked and chefed all around Chicago for 10 or 11 years. Then my boss at the time showed me a knife, a really early knife made by Ed Kim of Red Horse Knives. Because before either of us made knives, I knew Ed because he hung out at the bar that I worked at. Frank Big Black showed me one of his knives, and I was like, man, you can make your own knives? It never really clicked until it clicked. Then I fell in a really deep YouTube hole. I just spent hours and hours and hours watching everything I could. Finally stumbled onto the Built Sharp video series. It's a really nice overview of the process, but not too detailed. And I was like, I'm doing it, whatever. Went to Harbor Freight, spent $200, built a brake drum forge, and I was just on my way. At that time, I was cooking. I think I was a Sioux when I started making knives. Kind of moved up. At one point, I was a general manager. A family member got sick, needed some help. The knife thing was going well as a side gig. I said, screw it, I'll try full time. So left my job, helped my family member, and then started making knives in the 4x6 entryway of my Chicago apartment.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So that's what's really good to hear, because it's really easy to throw up roadblocks for yourself. I don't have the right equipment, or I have no space, literally no space. Well, you got an entranceway, where there's a will, there's a way, and other sayings like that. It really is true. If you want to do it, you'll figure out how to do it. I remember watching this I think he was a British guy living in Canada, and he was making knives with like he couldn't work because he didn't have a work visa, and he was living with his wife and kind of going mad, and he started making knives. He was using a file, and I remember he would clamp it to the railing of his balcony, and he would be freezing, and he'd set his phone up, and he would just, and I'm like, here's a guy who's, in negative 20-degree weather filing out a knife. Like, if you want to do it, you'll do it.
Exactly. And I saw Bare Arms. I saw you pop up, man. If you were talking about this is my one and only broadhead that I have right now. So email me if you want it. Otherwise, I'm making a bunch of them for Blade Show, and anything remaining will be available afterward. And we touched on custom stuff for like 1 second. And I told you that really long wait if you wanted like a full custom. If you just want a custom of a knife I already make and a handle you like, that wait's going to be much shorter.
Right. As opposed to,
yes, absolutely. There's probably a list somewhere. I know there's a book that exists called The Broke Bladesmith, kind of running on that concept wholly. But I can make you a small list, dude. On bare minimum, you need a way to heat treat knives, grind them, and drill straight holes. So really a drill press, a 1x30 from Harbor Freight. And you can probably find these things on, Marketplace, Craigslist, whatever else too. And then figuring out how to heat treat them is usually the biggest hurdle for people because it's like some science. But you can always outsource that as well to, True Grit, or, if you have a little bit bigger of a batch, you can send them to Peters. And I'm sure there's plenty of other guys that could heat treat it as well.
I have experimented a little bit and heat treated with True Grit a few times, and the knives came back great when they came back, and it was always like, because I would send them like 4 knives and it would take 9 months or something, and I'd kind of be like, well, maybe they're just gone, and then they come back, and I was like, oh, sweet.
So I do 100% of my heat treating in shop for reasons like this. I sent some stuff off to Peters. Everybody loves Peters, rants and raves. I'm happy so many people are so getting such great service. That's awesome. My one experience was like devastating because it was like my first big batch of stainless, and I had invested tons of time and money and effort into it. And I'm not going to go into the whole story, but I never got the knives back. And, so that sucked.
Oh, really? You never got them back?
And as soon as that happened, I was like, screw it. I went on and ordered my even heat kiln, and it was game over. I've been heat treating ever since.
Nomadic Adventure says, regardless of endeavor, start with used stuff. Yeah, probably not a bad idea at all.
Going back to our previous podcast one time, talked about the pandemic, how everybody started new hobbies. I bought so many people's tools when their hobbies were not their hobbies anymore.
Yeah.
Start with used stuff for sure. He is 100% right. Otherwise, I will buy your nice equipment for 40% of the price later on.
I think that is a good rule of thumb for all kind of expensive purchases, other than things like cars. You got to be careful with some purchases, but like you want to go after a Hinderer knife, you know, you could go and spend $600 on a website, or you could seek out a used one that's already got a little bit of mileage in it, and spend less and see if, I don't know, never spend retail. I think.
Unless it's for me.
Unless it's from you. Yes, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say never. What am I talking about? So what do you in the future, what do you have in mind for designs, types of knives you'd like to make?
Frame locks, of course. Every fixed blade guy wants to make frame locks. Let's be realistic. It's funny. I was having a conversation just about this, and I feel like most people making fixed blades are like, the frame lock is the big step. That's where everybody wants to be. That's where the big money is, and the big names, and the big interest. But I'm kind of at a weird spot right now because my fixed blade business is doing incredibly well. So, do I take time away from that, which is already really busy, to try to do something else, which may or may not work out well, and try to compete in a even more competitive market, where people are so much more harsh on what they feel about your knives. If you get a knife from me and it's $200, and maybe it's not your dream knife, you're like, oh well, it's $200, and you buy a $1,200 knife and it's not what you hoped it would be. It's emotional damage.
Yeah. Well, I think couple of things. I think that knives, fixed blade knives for everyday carry, is definitely a thing again, and I think that more and more we'll see more and more people. Hey Costa, good to have you here. More and more people carrying fixed blade knives, and also I think to compete in the frame lock world, I don't know. I think there's you either have to have some sort of crazy idea, or it's just the best format for some utilitarian idea you have. Whereas I don't know exactly what I'm getting at, and I'm not trying to say that we've reached peak frame lock. I'm not actually saying that, but I think differentiating yourself in the fixed blade world, especially in the EDC flick, bringing back fixed blades, so to speak, is an interesting and good place to be.
And I think they're alive and well more than ever now, not only because there's so many more options than there ever have been for every single taste and carry preference. That's a big one. Some people don't want a knife on their belt. Well, now you can have it in your neck, in your waistband, in your pocket, in your boot, you name it. I mean, obviously boot knives are nothing new, but
yeah.
And now that people can also see what other people are carrying, and we see guys on here carrying 10 knives, and I'm like, I only carried 2 today. I think I need to up my ante tomorrow.
Yeah.
So maybe kind of taking the stigma out of carrying stuff too, by relating and talking and building community with other people that do exactly what you do, and realizing, oh shit, I'm not a weirdo that maybe the FBI thinks I am because I'm on their watch list for all my knives.
Yeah. Oh geez. Speaking of carrying fixed blades, I have moved from the 3 o'clock in the waistband position to front appendix on the whole, and it's mostly because of Ethan from Vandrer Knives. Conversation we had really brought that up, and I've been really liking it on the whole. This is my collaboration knife with Matt Chase of Hogtooth, but this size is perfect. I think any larger and that spot north to south in the appendix spot would be difficult, but under 8 inches, I guess that is, or so, it works great. So I'm excited to have a new position for because I've always had it in my mind. I have the fixed blade. It's definitely for self-defense, but it's way over here on 3 o'clock. If I needed to use my left hand, it would be awkward. Everyone always says appendix is the most easily accessible, even if you're knocked to the ground or whatever. So it was always looming over me, and so I finally made the change, and I think I like it.
I think you need to try talking to Josh at Offensive Industries and give In Pocket a try too, though. Just out of fairness, it's it's a really nice way to carry a fixed blade to take more off your belt. Because, generally speaking, I already have other things in my belt at appendix. So adding a knife into the mix is not always really for me.
Yes. I understand. Can I see your offensive industry knife, pistol, Leatherman? He says, yeah.
Great combo.
Can I see I'm sorry. Can I see the sheath that you carry your Carl in? There we go.
Yeah, so it's got a discreet carry concepts clip, nice cloth grabber, so you can carry it, in waistband as well without a belt if you want to. It does see, it is a rather large sheath, but it's also a pretty big knife. But it's in waistband right up to, or in pocket right up to here, so you get about 2 inches exposed, more than enough to draw. And of course, the beauty of these is they're fully ambidextrous, so the knife fits in nicely both ways.
That is cool. Dion Page says, such a killer blade, Bob. Oh, thanks. I'm not sure which one you were talking about, but this one, yeah.
That's
Mitch
what I assumed.
yeah, actually, this is the last one I was holding up. I do love this. But I'm biased. What can I say? Mitch Bolig says, what's up, junkies? What's up, Mitch? Good to have you here. Always good to have Mitch with us. Nomadic Adventure says, you working on appendix draw? Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't spend too much time practicing my draw. I guess I should. That's always been a weak point. I've done a lot of Kali, martial arts where it's already in your hand and you're kind of dueling. But the realistic drawing and that I haven't done too much of. Not in this forward position. From over here on the hip, I feel like I could do it, pretty dramatically, So when I'm done, you got to yell cut. Bear Arm says, support Ritter to continue better knife carry laws. No kidding. So here in Virginia, starting July 1st, we can conceal carry automatic knives, which we couldn't even own last June 31st. So they've only been legal for a year on July 1st, when we'll be allowed to stash them where no one can see, which is, I love that.
It's satisfying. You can't deny it. I love Microtech.
Yeah, I agree. I have to, I do need more of these in my life. I do like the out the fronts. But I don't tend to carry them that often, got to be honest. Robert Von Dar says, please open carry knives as much as possible. Renormalize seeing knives in public. I'm with you. Now, not so much in public do I open carry a fixed blade. I mean, sometimes it's visible, but I don't need some weirdo jumping on me. I also don't need some Karen freaking out. But which is a distinct possibility in my area if they were to identify. But there's the idea of someone seeing it and running up on you and trying to being a temptation. What do you think of that?
I mean, I agree with you. I don't really support open carry as a whole. I kind of think concealed carry is kind of the way to go personally. But to each their own. I definitely see what you mean by, open carrying to kind of, take the stigma away from being a knife present. Because I feel the same way about guns. Having a gun present with nothing bad happening and having positive interactions is what makes anti-gun people less anti-gun, realizing that having something around doesn't necessarily mean bad things are happening. I feel like knives and guns can both kind of benefit from that. But me personally, I'm just not an open carry guy. That's my own perspective.
Yeah, I hear that. I am an open use kind of person. So you're at a birthday party and a cake needs to get cut, oh yeah, this is the perfect opportunity. Why else am I carrying a knife if I'm not able to cut something as simple as a birthday cake? So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, because it shows people, oh, it's not this scary thing that will jump out and stab me on its own. It's actually a usable, a tool that we should all have on us. We were talking about daggers. I have to show you something cool right after I read this. Nomadic Adventure says the yelling Karens get the superheroes to jump on you. Yeah, exactly. So check this out. I got this is a Les George designed dagger being made by Spartan Blades, called the Raider dagger, based on what the Marines first were issued in World War II, right after the knuckle duster knives went away. And these were they were cast aluminum handles and cheap steel, and they would break, and they were, really just for dispatching sentries and that kind of thing. And then later they adopted the K-bar. But I love daggers. We were talking the symmetry of a dagger before, and yeah, I just wanted to show this one off. Pretty sweet. Do you think you would ever do a large full size? You do a pretty large dagger, don't you?
Well, I have a Bottle Rocket XL. That's the bigger version in my rocket knives. But I do have a spike that I make that I call the FS spike. That's pretty similar to those. And I suppose that same knife, could easily be ground into an actual knife instead of just being a spike. And, I do make some FS style daggers here and there. I've maybe done about 10 total. Usually people shy away from them when I tell them they cost $700 just because they're a huge pain in the butt.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Greg T, good to have you here. Heard there was some knife nuts hanging out over here. Yeah, there are. You got it. Wait, what's FS? You said an FS style. What does that mean?
Yeah, I believe it's Fairbriar Sykes.
Oh, Fairbairn Sykes. I got you.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah. I use lingo so much that real names slip away from me in this day and age, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I like one thing about, since we're talking about your dagger, one thing, stab, chop, slice that button, junkies. Yes. Hit that like button. One thing I really like about your daggers, besides, everything, though I've never held one, or have I? I may have at Blade Show, actually.
You picked up a lot of stuff at Blade Show.
Yeah, no doubt. I picked up it all, no doubt. But when it's in the pinch grip, is that what it is? When it's in that side, I always call it a shovel stab in my mind. But when the blade is sideways instead of the ordinary, here, I should use a dagger. So your knife has these pockets carved out of the handle right up here so that you can hold it flat and fit your finger in the groove. Yeah. Yes.
So this is not a dagger. This is the Variant 3 model, but same handle shape, so I can show everybody what you're talking about.
Yes.
But yeah, and you really can't see the facets as well as I would like you to be able to, but this knife is not nearly as square as it may appear. But yes,
yeah, we can see
really
that
nice
there's
spot right here.
Yes, that looks nice, and that looks really good for a dagger. Nomadic Adventure says, stand by my words. Knives are tools versus a weapon. Yes, some knives are tools of weaponry. Yeah, exactly. No doubt. I mean, yeah. I am firmly, as we all know, in the knives are weapons camp. I know there are a lot of knife YouTubers who shy away from that, or maybe don't even shy away from it. That's just not how they feel about it. They're tools and tools only. But to me, I mean, it's undeniable. They're also very appealing weapons. The one that you were just holding up is definitely on the weapony side, kind of a Pikal, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. I like weapons too, though. There's no harm in that.
So did you, as a knife maker, as a fixed blade knife maker of EDC style knives, did you feel a pressure to make Pikal knives at any point?
Oh, of course. Come on. Because I'm also a business person, I guess, a businessman. So when everybody's buying what Ed tells you to buy, and that's what it is, you got to follow suit. Of course, I made a Pikal style knife to get in on the market. I'm trying to support myself and my family, and absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't call it pressure. I would call it smart move at the time, because now they're some of my best selling knives.
Yeah, yeah, and they're exotic looking. I feel like everyone should make one. You know, I think they've become somewhat ubiquitous. Like I don't think they're going away anyway. I don't think they're just a trend. And you know, that grip has been used for a long time, and I'm always I get a new knife and I always put it in that grip to see how it would perform, especially a folder, because if you're actually going to be using a folder in this motion, man, I do not want to rely on that lock to not cut my fingers off. So I definitely would turn it around just to save the fingers. But yeah, I love, oh yeah, Ale House daggers. We'll talk about that in a second. But I love the look of the Pakal style with the outreaching claw style blade. It just does it for me in a way that, and I like karambits enough, but it does it for me in a way that a karambit does not, because I don't know, it just doesn't.
I mean, I love the style, you know, and would I have made one if people weren't buying them like hotcakes? It's questionable, but I'm glad I did, and I certainly don't regret doing it. You know, wherever you take inspiration or prompt from, you know, so be it. As long as it gets done and you're not exactly copying what somebody else is doing, you know, no harm in dipping your toes in the water.
Oh yeah, okay. I like that. I like that philosophy. I mean, that's how things get innovated. Um, I want to show off a couple of knives here. Ah, Mitch Bolig, what are you doing here? Knives are one of the oldest tools known to humankind. It was the force fear narrative that made them scary and made deep carry an appeal. Made deep carry such an appeal. Yes. You know, the Rebel Without a Cause, I think, and the juvenile delinquent scare of the 1950s. That was a big one for like switchblades and folders, and you know, demonizing those, and then the laws, the Reconstructionist laws after the Civil War to keep knives out of the hands of free black people. That was another big one that led to these kind of scare style knife stupidity laws. And so, Mitch, I agree. What am I going to salute you with here, Mitch? Oh, I think we're going to go big and ridiculous. All right. Mitch, thank you for that super chat. I am going to salute you with the Puzon Predator Hunter. Oh, yeah. Right there. This is by Work Tough Gear, and this thing is as amazing as it looks. And yes, it does take inspiration from that giant knife they all carried in Predator, but only Billy really used to great acclaim. Love that movie. Love that knife. Mitch, thank you so much, sir. I would salute you longer, but it's like 12 pounds. thing is huge. Oh my God. Yeah. Dion says, outstanding salute. Well, what can I say? You know, look at what I'm dealing with here. So do you have any desire to make big sort of things like this?
You know what? I used to make big things like that. And now, really, no. The longer I do this, the more my hobbies grow outside of knives. And knives are really, you know, I love knives. The passion probably has kind of dwindled because it's my job. You know, I do this anywhere between 30 and 80 hours a week, depending on how close to blade shows I am.
Right.
You know, so keeping things small and easy, and, you know, leaving, not, you know, having to think about the big chore I'm walking into in the morning. It all makes my life just a little bit easier. And, you know, there's tons of guys who are making big, giant knives, and I will happily leave that to them.
What do you have in your hand? You keep kind of.
Oh, I'm just playing with a runt.
Oh, well, let's see it.
He talked about knives being scary, and I just wanted to show you guys how scary this one was. It's
Oh,
very
that's
small.
cool. I love that little knife.
The sun went down, so it's much darker in my office now. I apologize, guys.
Quite all right. That is a cool little clip point blade. I love that. Small enough to wear around the neck or just drop in the bottom of your pocket. Yep. So would you say that your knives or how you like to design knives are kind of lifestyle accoutrement or lifestyle what's the word, kit?
Yeah, I mean, accoutrements fine for me as well. I went to a French culinary school, so that's pretty fitting, it seems like. Yeah, you know, I want stuff that I make to be carried and used, and I want it to be easy to carry and functional and, you know, aesthetically pleasing all at once. But I'm not trying to, you know, before I really had, I guess, what I thought was my identity, or what I think, I guess, now is my kind of identity in this really kind of small fixed blade world, I was making all sorts of stuff, you know, big choppers and, you know, everything out of 5160, just walking around chopping wood everywhere I go just for fun. And, you know, as I kind of said, this is my job now, and I got to really stay a lot more focused, especially as my projects get bigger and things take longer. You know, just jumping off the rails and making a big old knife for fun just really isn't in like the agenda. Right.
Yeah.
You know, I have a schedule that I have to stick to get things done, to pay my bills and have my stuff done for the shows. And, you know, the more business this becomes, the less fun I guess I get to have in making whatever I want.
Yes. There is ass yet to kick before you can jump into the world of fun and fancy. Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to retire someday, man. You know, that's a lot of work as somebody, you know, I'm not getting a pension from anywhere or anything like that. So, you know, I got to retire off these things. It's going to be tough.
So you mentioned a couple of weeks ago that you have a drop. What do you have available right now that people can get?
Well, I do have full-size Carls on the website. I also
that's a 4-inch blade, right? I just want to get the specs.
8.5 inches overall with a 4-inch blade. Okay. Does include a pancake style Kydex sheath, nice. Metal belt clip. Sheath is very adaptable. It'll accept pretty much any clip you desire to put on it. I also do have a Runt XLs, the larger version of the Runt. Ooh, I know it's cool. An oxymoron, the Runt XL, and I wish the lighting was better in here. I'm sorry, guys. It's so bad. I will figure this out for next time.
What is that? Like a two? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's 7 inches overall, 3-inch blade.
Nice.
But fits in the hand really nice, and it is 3/32 steel with 1/8 inch slab scale, so it's super thin overall. I mean, like less than a 1/2 inch thick overall. Really nice, easy to carry blade. So those two are both in the website right now. I do have a pretty nice drop coming up this weekend as well with my KTK series. It's the Quaken type knife. They are triple hollow ground with epoxied cord wrap handles. I got the
Wait. You said triple hollow ground. What do you mean?
All right, let me get the bigger one out, and maybe you can see it on the Tonto better. I call it a triple hollow grind just because, you know, it doesn't really line up for me to call it an S grind or anything like that. So it is a hollow ground bevel here, a hollow ground flat here, and a hollow ground swedge on the top.
Oh, sweet.
And so all the KTKs.
Is it?
Go ahead. What's that?
Oh, I was going to ask, is it chisel on the other side, or is it the same on the other side? Wow.
Yeah, this is a kind of a pain to grind, but
so cool. Yeah,
cuts real nice. Cool. And these ones have a green under wrap. You can kind of see it here with black overwrap, fully impregnated with marine grade resin, so it's rock solid, never absorbing anything, never moving, on there for good. And these Tontos have a really nice thick tip on there. So all my KTKs will be hitting the website this weekend at some point. I've made a bold decision to try my own YouTube endeavor, so I'm going to try to shoot my first video on Saturday. We'll see how that goes. Who knows? I don't know how to edit anything, and I'm trying to do it all, every take in one shot. So it's going to be great.
Nice. Have a knife day. Have a great night, sir, and a great weekend. Dion Page says, I want that.
I
Yes.
know a
Yes.
guy.
I want that too. Excuse me. Oh, outstanding. He says, yeah, that is really, really nice looking, man. I love the triple hollow grind. Kevin Moore, what is up, fellow fans of the Sharp and Pointy? Bob and Jim, hope you both are well. Kevin, I hope you're doing well, man. Just talking here with Michael Jarvis of Auxiliary Manufacturing, and we were talking about the knives he's got right now on his website. Dion Page says, green and black too, best color combo ever. Yeah,
It's my personal favorite.
those Runt XLs look really nice. I mean, they look like drop in the pocket, like little mini Bowie knives. I'm always talking about how much I love Bowies and how they don't have to just be 10 inches long. To me, this has the spirit of the Bowie knife with that nice clip point, but so thin and small. Just drop that in the pocket. I like the hand motions. Mitch says, I just bought a Runt XL. Hey, check that out. I just bought a Runt XL in natural micarta on your site. AEBL at 61.5 HRC. Big Brown Bear, step in. Step in line. That's awesome, man. So it could be that very knife in your hand that Mitch just bought.
Or yeah, Mitch, I'll just ship you this one, buddy. I think I got two more behind me maybe, but it could be this one.
That is sweet.
Awesome, yeah, and man. I think he'll really like it. I think you'll really like it too. Obviously, come by the table, 10G Blade Show Atlanta, and check them out in person. But again, the same specs as the small Runt, so that 3/32 AEBL, that thin, the super thin scales, man, and the almost full height grind gives it a nice slicer.
So, what kind of feedback do you get from your collectors or people who get your stuff?
I get varying feedback. 99% of the time, the feedback's always positive. And, it's occasionally, it might be somebody be like, oh, I got weird hands. This is a hot spot I encountered, which is kind of my favorite kind of feedback. So I can just try to make the knife better overall.
Right.
90, most of the feedback though is like, I thought it would be bigger.
That's funny. That is funny. And I'll tell you why. I just gave myself a talking to about something that I ordered a while ago and will be coming in soon. And you play it up in your mind. Especially as you're waiting for it, you're looking at pictures of it and stuff. Yeah, and I had to tell myself, remember, it's going to be a lot smaller than you think. That is hilarious.
And this is a perfect opportunity to tell this story. So, I sell tons of these little Runts. And this is what I hear about the most is like, oh, I thought it would be bigger. And I love to tell people, everybody loves to overestimate how big 5 inches really is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Divide it. You figure you got to have at least 3 inches for your hand. What is it? It's a 2-inch blade, the Runt.
Yeah.
It's like, It's in the name, people. It's called Runt.
And I just think it's funny that I say the specs, but people just like, I think you can even look at a ruler and be like, oh, okay, 5 inches, that's pretty big, not really like thinking about it. Then you see the whole thing in your hand. Said, oh, thank you. I'm glad somebody got the 5-inch joke.
Said all knife guys' wives. I'm going to have to ask you to pick up the push dagger again, the broadhead.
Yeah, I got it right here in front of me. And so this guy's very small as well.
That is cool. That is just too cool.
This is just 3 inches overall, 1.5 inch blade.
1.5. Enough to get someone's attention.
Oh, yeah, of course. And, I dabbled in making a longer version. In fact, I even have water jet blanks cut for a 3-inch version. And it just hasn't really been a big priority to bring them out. I really prefer the smaller, easily concealable stuff. And, granted, 3 inches is not like, anything to write home about. But I like keeping it small overall. The broadheads and the Sumeis and the Carl Juniors. And I feel like as my lines continue to evolve, they get smaller and smaller almost.
Yeah, and they become part of your, if you really want to carry them, they have to be reasonably sized, and they really will become a part of your everyday carry, and then a part of your I don't know, part of your living memory. It's like when you get stuff from your dead grandparents or whatever, and oh, grandpa used to wear this watch all the time. It's like it's got some of grandpa in him. Or I have a bunch of my grandfather's pocket knives, and it's the same thing. They are used to a nubbin, all of them, and it's like that's him right there, in that knife. So it's the same thing. You make something, a fixed blade knife that is going to get carried because the size is convenient. Well, that's the knife that's going to count when you need it. I have, and I'm speaking from experience, I have like a lot of knives that I don't carry ever, that I've bought without the intention of carrying or using, for the museum, the DeMarco Museum of Knives. And but the ones that get carried all the time, like this, like my knife here, the Nova 1, the handle, like it's been up against my body a bunch, and it's been up against shirts a bunch, and it's like the micarta is getting really nicely polished and feels like my thing.
Is that why it's so shiny? Was it sandblasted when you got it and you just wore it smooth?
Yeah, right. It was actually polished, but I've really, yeah, exactly. All the precious oils have gotten in it. And, here's actually a cool knife by Colin Maison-Pierre, CM Designs. He is a designer in his own right, and then one half of Devo Knives. But this is his knife with best tech, called the Tonic, and he sent it to me. I've been wanting to check this out for a while. He sent it one of his personal copies to check out, and it is really a beautiful little knife. This is like a little locking gentleman's knife. It's nice and thin, and as you can see, it's a back lock, something you don't see much of on high-end, expensive, modern Chinese made production knives like this. And but this was Colin Maison-Pierre innovation. He on the back lock right there, and it's very, very hard to see, but where it's dark between the back lock and the tang of the blade, there is a little ball bearing, and the ball bearing is what interfaces with the rounded tang part, so that there's just less resistance between the lock bar and the tang of the blade. It's just a ceramic ball touching, and not that full length of the lock, so you can just flip it open and close it very easily, kind of in a fidgety fashion. So beautiful knife, and something about it looks sort of, I keep thinking like that sort of Art Deco, I don't know, Ayn Rand kind of something about it. It reminds me of the book covers of those books, and it just has a cool feel, like a slightly different era, like where you ride trains called the Zephyr, cross country, and you have fancy meals and that kind of thing. Love this thing. So yeah, thank you, Colin. Sometimes he shows up here. Thank you for loaning me this. I feel like I'm getting the micarta on this all dirty, but I'm not doing anything too risky with the knife. So love that thing. And then,
just breaking it in, man. Micarta needs to be broken in.
That's right. There's a hey JVF, how you doing? Hi, junkies. He's got coffee in his avatar, and he joins us from a great coffee nation across the shop. Byron Kennedy says, Bob, you need that push dagger, if for no other reason than channel salutes with the Predator Hunter. That's good thinking. That'll be part of the justification to the wife. I needed it. Need is the term. Yeah, push daggers to me ever since Platoon. Yes. That scene in Platoon, I've always loved push daggers. Here in my hand, I have the Evanderer again. I'm not sure how much I showed this off, but Yeah, the feel in hand of this is awesome. And look at these cool scales. This I've been getting into. Is it going to focus? I've been getting into multi-layered G10 scales, but not necessarily ones where it's, just layer upon layer, but these kind of swirled patterns that are starting to look a little bit like what we were talking about before, the G Carta.
Yeah, it's got a very like marbled carbon fiber look. I even think I've seen some places calling it marbled G10 now too.
Oh, marble G10. That makes sense. Are you at all slip joint guy, or do you like any of the sort of modern traditional stuff?
I love slip joints personally. Yeah, big fan. Got a nice little collection, very modest, nothing crazy. My collection in general is nothing extravagant. I'm sure I mean, on the wall there, you probably have close to what I have in my collection as a whole, not counting my own knives, of course.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, here's the thing, like you carry one of your knives, and that's somewhat rare. Usually when I ask, it's early morning here, coffee time. Oh yeah. I just ran dry. My coffee ran. I'm like, ah. But anyway, I was saying something, and I'm sure it was very meaningful, and that coffee thing threw me off. What was I saying? I don't even remember.
Oh, I don't know either.
Uh, anyway, I do apologize for that. I did want to show one other knife that I got this week. And it's from Dirk Pinkerton. He sent
Nice.
me a really cool, yeah, he's one of my favorites. And let me show, before I show you this new knife, let me show you, Michael, this knife that I got from him at Blade Show 2 years ago. Hey, Macho, how's it going? Evening, fellas, he says. Macho Blades with
Nice.
us.
What's up, man?
What's that?
Oh, I was just saying, what's up?
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, he's
Nice.
he's on the podcast this week.
Oh, cool.
Also making really beautiful and meticulous stuff. Speaking of beautiful and meticulous, this is the Cave Bear by Dirk Pinkerton, and this is a hand ground. So you know him for two different things. He has all of these very successful folder designs with a lot of these companies overseas making awesome folders, and then he hand makes all these beautiful knives and really reaches into the I don't know, the historical record and looks at a lot of different historical blades. And he's well respected for his grinding, and I think this blade here with this symmetrical curved double edge is just an awesome example of it. The Cave Bear, a wicked, I mean, talk about Pikal, all day long with this. But what I want to show is he's got a new design with Shieldin, and it to me, it couldn't be more opposite than that. But I've been carrying it around and
Oh,
digging it. I've been digging it. And this is my style of knife. I'm not much of a cleaver guy. I like a point. But this one to me keeps feeling more like straight razor than cleaver. It's sort of a cartoonish Sweeney Tester. I've been really digging this thing. And it's got all of these holes for deployment, so you can, Spidey flick it. Let's see if you can open it up with your thumb. You can slow roll it. You can front flip it. You can do all these. So it's a great little fidget at work kind of thing. I'm sitting there editing. I've been fidgeting with this all week. But yeah, so this is one of his designs, and I think it's somewhat playful, and somewhat I don't know. And then I look at some of his other somewhat less serious, and then I look at some of his other knives like these fixed blades, and they are incredible. That's a nasty one from Dirk, says Macho. Yeah, no kidding. I have a feeling you're talking about this one. Yeah, so has a very big interest, like I said, in historical ethnographic knives and then just kind of blends them together to get these really cool creations. And then Cave Bear, good name, Cave Bear.
I actually had to reach down to my toolbox right here and grab my Pinkerton. I picked this up at a Blade Show last year. And this thing is wicked. I would call it a triple edge, I guess, because this thing is nasty.
Whoa, that is cool, man. So how would you hold that? How do you?
You know, I hold it like this.
There you go. Yeah.
Maybe there's other ways. They all seem real dangerous, so this seems like the only safe way. But this thing's really cool. I couldn't not get it. He wasn't even there. He had somebody running this table for me. He was my neighbor, where I met you for the first time, Atlanta last year.
Yes, that's right.
And this was his very last knife, and I can't remember the guy who was running this table. I want to say on IG, maybe he goes by the Bearded Ginger or something like that. And I was like, yeah, I'll take it, man. You go have fun. Cause he was itching to like go and do his own shopping. So
yeah,
I bought myself a knife and relinquished him from his duties.
Oh, that is a really cool. Can I see the sheath for it?
Yeah. The sheath is like really funky.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You got to be a little careful with this thing, man. The knife is definitely the most interesting part, but it does click in. The sheath does function. It's resheathing that's a little complicated, but I'm far more concerned drawing the knife than getting it back into its sheath.
Yeah, exactly. There's no need to speed resheath. Sometimes you might need to speed draw. In terms of sheath making on auxiliary manufacturing knives, I know that like you said, you do some collaborating with other sheath makers, Offensive Industries, but what about coming out of your shop?
I mean, every single one of my knives includes a sheath that I make, with the exception of the Variant 3, which always comes with Offensive Industries Kydex. It's just the nicest way to carry it. I suppose by request I could make somebody a belt sheath, but it really isn't asked for very often.
What is the Variant 3? I'm sorry, which one is
that? It is what we were talking about. It is the Pacal style in my Rocket Series knives.
Okay.
This is what I like to carry if I'm not carrying a Carl. I usually have one of these with me. Really nice carry. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit less in the pocket. And, when we're talking about, what's exposed, it's, maybe 1.25 inches that actually sticks out of your pocket.
Right.
It's very low profile carry.
And all the rocket knives have that same handle shape, right?
Yes. Yeah. That is like the one continuous thing through all the rocket knives, whether it be the Bottle Rocket XL, the Pocket Rocket, the Variant 2, which is just the single-edged version of the dagger.
Okay.
Yeah. But aside from the Variant 3 Bottle Rocket, everything does include a Kydex sheath, pancake style, traditionally black Kydex, with the exception of the runts. I do like to do some fun stuff with those.
Now, these are pancake sheaths, and what I really like about them is that you keep it really close. Sometimes pancake sheaths can really get away from you in terms of footprint. You seem to keep it really nice and slender, like only about the width of that clip.
So really these are going to be about 1/2 inch wider than I could make them if I were doing a taco style. And I think for that extra 1/2 inch, you get so many more mounting possibilities. It is worth it, in my opinion. If you only want to wear your knife one way, we talked about aftermarket sheaths. If you want a low profile sheath, I send everybody to Legion Defense Solutions out of Texas. He does stuff for like me and my pistols, and low profile sheaths for my knives. If you're looking for something extremely low profile and that's the way you want to go, I always recommend an aftermarket sheath. I just try to kind of meet in the middle. You'll never please everybody all the time, but if I can make a consistently functioning sheath, which is obviously the most important part, that isn't so overwhelmingly large, I think I'm doing pretty okay.
Yeah. The whole idea of keeping it nice and slim makes it so that you can have it in the waistband without having to negotiate that turn, so to speak. let me show you. Let's see. Has anyone seen this? This is the new Tops, Jim, from Knife Life News. The new Tops knives, modern Gladius. This is exactly up my alley. Can I see what Kevin, you just had up on screen from Kevin? Kevin Moore says, I picked up a CRKT M16 from my local academy. Nice Tonto. Yeah, I have one of those that my Marine Corps or former Marine Corps brother-in-law got me. And he said that's what they were issuing for a while to his unit. Mitch Bolick said, exactly, your whole pattern for mounting on the pancake is excellent. Yes, and Mitch might agree with this too. Sometimes, like discrete carry concepts to me are by far the best thing going. I oftentimes prefer to clip right to my pants and not over the belt, because I like to cant it in a certain angle or what have you. And these discrete carries are the best. And it looks like your sheath gives it just enough room to put it on either side.
Yep.
Sometimes if I'm, sweatpants or basketball shorts carrying, I like the clip on the other side, just because of weight and that kind of thing. And on yours, it's possible.
Yeah, and that's what I really like. I want, and I kind of talked about the clip that I give away earlier. It's DCC inspired. I like to say, I usually, when I have them in stock, they're crazy hard to get right now for some reason. Discrete carry concepts clips, I'm having a hell of a time getting the ones I like. I usually offer that as an upgrade, but I like to give a knife that you can carry right away in a bunch of different styles, however, whatever suits you, whether it's in waistband, on waistband, in a fanny pack with a static line, you name it. I just want to make the most adaptable sheath I can for everybody. And if you need something more specialized, I will do my best to accommodate that or send you to somebody who can.
Yeah, and I like all of the like lots of grommets, because everyone's holes are differently spaced. So yeah, that's helpful. Okay, Dion says, I saw it and I want it. I'm getting it. That Gladius looks killer. Jim, could you bring this in? Josh, good to see you here. Josh 33025. Hello, and that's a beautiful picture you have there as your avatar. But this is, I believe it's an exclusive only with Smoky Mountain Knife Works, but this is the dagger, and it's Gladius inspired, and I think it's kind of cool. I kind of like it. I have to say that if we're going to be nerds about it, I feel like the main edges either need to be parallel, or they need to start thinner and widen out, like the Mainz pattern Gladius. There were a couple of different Gladius types, and they're named after where they were dug up, basically. And the Mainz pattern is the kind that kind of widens as you get to the triangle towards the front. I always thought that was the coolest looking, personally. But you don't see any of them that are shaped like an obelisk. All that being said, I still think this is a really cool looking blade. And I love Tops. Tops can basically do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. Even when they do cheesy stuff like folding combs, beard combs and stuff, it's still cool. What do you think of this?
I love it. Obviously I'm a dagger guy. Again, I mentioned earlier, it looks like it's going to be a pain in the ass to sharpen. But aside from that, it looks like it's going to be fun. I like to customize myself. So the first thing I'm doing is stripping that finish off, putting something a little smoother on there. That's just me.
What JVF says, so cool. Yes, no doubt. Very cool. And it doesn't have the rounded pommel. It has it just kind of terminates. That handle's just sort of widens, sort of like a coffin handle. So what would you do finish wise with something like this? That is 1095, so it might be differentially heat treated.
It probably will be. And you know what? I would still do the same thing I would always do and just blacken it and tumble it. I just like a finish that's more smooth to the touch. I feel like a rough finish is always going to impact your cutting ability. You're going to feel it as you're cutting things, Granted, Tops knives are beaters. They're meant to be out in the woods, fucking some shit up, for lack of a better term, man.
Yeah.
That doesn't really matter, but I come from a kitchen background where, like, the smoother, the shinier your knife is, the smoother it's gonna be, and the better it's effectively gonna cut. And these are theories that they talked about in culinary school when choosing a knife. So that smoothness of the finish is something that sticks out in my mind, whether it actually makes a realistic difference or not.
Well, I think it has to actually make a realistic difference. That's why in making katanas, that's why they had dudes with polishing stones who would just work them, so that they could slide through with whatever person they were chopping in half. It would easily go through the medium, as we say.
Exactly.
I have right on me, actually. I have a knife from Tim Kell, T. Kell Knives. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he puts this nickel boron on his knives. A lot of them are 80 CRV 2 or 1095. So the nickel boron both protects the steel from corrosion, but it also, and I guess it adds some hardness to it somehow, like the coating, but it's also very slick, kind of like a pan, like a Teflon pan or something.
Huh.
And I think it's kind of an interesting thing. You were just talking about the slick surface,
No, absolutely. I'm just not familiar with the finish, so I have little to add to that, but I am very curious.
Yeah, nickel boron. Vandrer says, absolutely, stop sacrificing cutting ability for longevity. If a user can't care for the knife with a normal finish, they shouldn't have knives. You take a hard line, sir, but I'm with you. I'm with you. Mutiny Grim says, wow, good to have you here, Mutiny, all the way from Iran. Will B says, I love that Guardian. Yeah, I love this thing too. And I love the purple and black layered handles. It's a little bit of cognitive dissonance. You look at it, it's like purple. What harm is that going to do? Oh, that's why I like I like pink knives. I like to travel with pink knives, I guess I should say.
I sell so many purple knives, you would not believe it. Like, of my wrapped stuff, when I do Stingray, I either do black over Stingray or purple over Stingray. Purple is always the first to go. People love it. I love it too. It looks great. Let's be realistic. Purple and black is an excellent combination. And who doesn't like the color of royalty?
Yes. Yeah. I love purple and black. My favorite is burgundy. I just love burgundy micarta. It's just my thing. I just love it. And I don't have much, but I have like some of my custom stuff I will order with burgundy. I just love that color. And with black or deep green or something. Will B says, I don't like purple a lot, but I really want something in purple haze fat carbon. Yeah, that is like anodized purple. I learned I can't really live with, though I think it looks cool in pictures. I spent some money on an anodized purple Wii knife that I was just like, I love everything about this, but I can't live with you, crazy girl. Yeah, not anodized. One last knife I want to show off and see what you think of this. This is from Who Knives. Now, Who Knives, we had gentlemen from Who Knives on. His name is on the tip of my tongue. Great, very nice guy. Anyway, he has brought these very modern style non-locking knives that he designs and has made to Great Britain, so they can have knives that are very much like flippers. Well, they are flippers. They flip open and this is not
a Who Knives. That was it. I was like, wow.
But it's like a double detent system, but you can get a flip out of it, and it's really cool. So they have their version 3 knife, so It's like it's got the modern amenities minus the lock, basically.
So you said it's got a double detent, so it's got a detent in its close and open position. It's
Yes.
interesting because I did handle a knife with a similar concept to that. Whenever Blade Show West was in Portland for the 1 year it was or something, and it was a really cool system that the guy had worked out. I'm not sure if it was the same guy or not. I literally do not remember his name, but it was a nice option.
Yeah, I think so too, especially, if you're an enthusiast and you're living in a non-permissive sort of country, or if you're an actual with someone who actually uses these things. No, and you need to use it one-handed. You're a guy up there on the telephone pole, you need to use your knife, whatever it is. The one-handed option is great because the detent that holds the knife open is not strong enough to, you can overcome it with your forefinger on the spine, so you can, put it back in easily too. But it's also got a pocket clip and S35VN blade steel, and
Nice.
just a cool. Who Knives was episode? What was he? Oh, Carl Pearson. Thank you, Jim. Carl Pearson, very nice guy, young dude, and just bringing knives. He was episode 377, bringing knives of this type to the good folks of Great Britain. What are your favorite steels to work with, Michael?
I'm an AEBL guy, through and through. I'm
AEBL.
looking at all these knives over my desk, and I'm pretty sure that all but one is AEBL, and the only one that's not is because it's Nitro V, and they were out of AEBL when I was getting my blanks water jet cut. I do magnet cut and stuff too, and some Damascus, either from Damasteel or from 50/50 Forge. But AEBL has really been, it's proved to me to be a great overall steel. Nice toughness, nice carryability, easy enough to sharpen for the end user. So if you want to, take charge of sharpening your knives and not have to send it back to me to sharpen it, I think that's great for everybody. You get to feel like you accomplished something and be competent and take care of your own stuff. And I get a little bit less off my plate. It makes me happy for that one reason alone.
Yeah. So how do you recommend people care for your knives? Like in terms of sharpening, especially?
I mean, care aside from sharpening, the care is limited. You don't really got to do anything to them. They're stainless and they're Caswell blackened and sealed, and they're all good to go. Aside from that, for sharpening, if you have a method you are comfortable with that gets good results, do that. What I sharpen on my 2x72-inch belt grinder, you probably don't have one. If you sharpen with a stone and you're comfortable that way, by all means, definitely do that. If you use a sharp maker or a wicked edge, those things seem to be kind of self-explanatory. Again, I don't really know much about them, but do whatever you're comfortable with. And if you're not comfortable and you're worried you're going to mess up the finish or mess up the knife, send it to me. I'll sharpen it for free. I'm here for you guys.
I love it. Hey, before we wrap up, we've been talking a lot about your EDC. I mean, all night we've been talking about your EDC fixed blade knives, but you also make some pretty exquisite kitchen knives. Tell people about that.
Well, I make some nice kitchen knives. They've been called exquisite, I've heard. I don't have a single one to show you guys, but if you're interested in seeing the kitchen knives that I make, you can see them on kniveshipfree.com. They bought all of my inventory. Really great guys there. If you've ever bought from Knives Ship Free, I vouch for them. They're excellent. Jay and the crew just really know what they're doing. Again, AEBL for my kitchen knives, one of my favorite steels. I do them in the same 3/30 seconds thickness that I do the runts in. So this Runt XL is essentially a kitchen knife, except for this stupid thing. But I do kind of a East meets West style in my kitchen knives. The blade shape is, I've been told, kind of more of a Thai chef. I like a very upswept kind of shape to it. And I wish I had one to show you guys. And unfortunately, I do not. But I have, a million knives in front of me.
The ones, yes. If only we could see. The ones that I saw at your table at Blade Show had really nice handles with, all sorts of, sort of complicatedly composed handles. Does that make sense?
Yeah, man, I call what I make now like black knives. They're like black guns. They're utilitarian. They're for everybody. I did not always make knives like this. My knives used to be very colorful and elaborate and a lot more going on. And the kitchen knives are the last remnant of that in my lineup, in a sense. It's the last handle I let myself have fun with. It's the last knife that I really make that's not kind of set in stone of what it has to be. The Carls are always textured G10, and everything in the Rocket series is always linen micarta, and everything else has its roles pretty defined, and the kitchen knives are the last thing that I kind of have fun with, if you will. And I love mixing up the materials and really, really playing off of a weird palette, and going earth tones, but really diving all into, not just grays and browns, but blacks and every other thing you could possibly cram into an earth tone, bringing oranges into it, and thinking a little bit too much about the concept as a whole, really.
That reminds me kind of how Ernest Emerson, he started making a lot of really fancy, mother of pearl and shiny polished liner lock type, collector knives, and then really, very much veered away from that when he got his successful tactical recipe kind of, humming along, and he'll do little one-off or small series. I know he just did a series of 20 knives to go with his whiskey, so he'll do little things, but yeah, he'll have fun with some things, but that's not what he's making money on. Mitch Bolick says AEBL, heat treated like auxiliary manufacturing does, is the ribeye steak of fixed blade knives. Very nice, man. That's quite a compliment. The ribeye steak.
Let's talk about the heat treat for a second, because I use a heat treat recipe. I did not develop this recipe. It was handed down to me, and it's been handed down from knife maker to knife maker. It almost feels like a moonshine recipe. I've never once seen this recipe published. It's not on the internet. It's not, available on Alpha Knife Supply's heat treat guide. The recipe I use, that I do share with other knife makers, is unique from other ones that I've seen. It truly is special in a sense, and the results are excellent, especially paired with a true cryo treatment. Man, that's one reason why I love AEBL so much, is I have it down after however many years it took. I got it exactly where I want it.
That's awesome. Well, Michael Jarvis of Auxiliary Manufacturing, thanks for coming on Thursday Night Knives. It was great to have you on here and just, catch up more. We had our formal conversation, but it was nice to have you here and just shoot the breeze, and remind people of the best way to get in touch with you and your knives, and how to buy them and what you have.
Well, you can see what's currently available at auxmfg.com or Auxiliary Manufacturing if you love spelling. I also have show inventory. If you're looking for something special, reach out, shoot me an email, info@auxmfg.com. Maybe I have what you're looking for. Maybe I'm working on what you're looking for, and I can get you on the list. Either way, I want to sell a knife to you and you.
I like that. Very well done, sir. All righty, sir. Well, thanks for coming on again, and thank you one and all for tuning in and watching. And it was Cam Michael. Congratulations on your off-grid knives win. I will get these out to you. Just make sure you give me your address. You're getting the golf clap from Michael. And also, get in touch with me. Let me know what your address is. I'll get these out to you. Be sure to join us on Sunday for a great interview show. And, until then, for Jim working his magic behind the switcher, I'm Bob DeMarco saying, don't take dull for an answer.